All right, Whew, back again. So if you remember from the last video, we got some cleaning up to do. We got some decisions to make inside this engine bay, this YouTube build we're doing for you guys. We got some sunlight today. Now here's the thing. It's a Tuesday afternoon. We are racing daylight right now. So I wanna go through this really quickly. Basically what you guys see here, we need to make look pretty. Number one task today is why we need the daylight is we're gonna scrub all this stuff down. Show you guys a few tricks, a few pointers to kind of get this engine bay as clean as we possibly can. We're gonna use some degreaser, we're gonna use some soap, we're gonna use some water, and we're gonna mask, not necessarily mask, but we're gonna cover some things with some bags that we don't really want to risk getting wet or water in. For example, the fuel system, the brake fluid, and the clutch. So we got to get this thing out there. Gonna move the two Camaros, get those out of the way, get these engines out of the way, get this thing back on the ground, and roll this puppy out. We put some rollers on here. We got this wheel off of Julio's Camaro, as you can see. That's usually what his wheels look like after a day of drifting or whatever he calls drifting. But anyways, we're gonna get this thing back on the ground. Don't want to keep putting the raised wheels off and on, cause some damage on them. So that's why we got those spares on there. And yeah, let's race some daylight. Let's do this. All right. Car's out, got the pressure washer hooked up. So here's what we're gonna do as a first step. This is gonna be just to break down as much grime as we can. We're gonna use a little bit of degreaser. Now I did this degreaser, I mixed it 50-50, 50% degreaser, 50% water. I didn't want it to be too strong because honestly, we don't know how strong this paint's gonna hold up in here once we actually start hitting it with some cleaning solvents and also some pressure. One of the kind of downfalls that kind of sucks, for me at least, it's gonna be a little bit of a annoyance, is down here the battery must have failed at one point and leaked battery acid and kind of damaged the paint, at least down there. We're not shaving the bay, we're not painting the bay. That's not the purpose of this build. This is a daily driver, so I'm gonna do my best to not let that bother me, at least for now. We have some plans for the subframe. We have some plans for the rack and pinion and the control arm, so we're not too stressed on getting that stuff clean right now. Our main concern is getting the actual bay cleaned enough for us to start putting parts back in. So, like I said, let's hit it with some degreaser and then go from there. You can see I put some plastic bags around the clutch master, or the clutch master, the brake master, and the fuel filter, just to prevent as much water from getting in there as possible. I didn't cover it up 100% perfect, and that's okay. So yeah, let's see how this comes out. Alright, that's kind of all I want to do for now. Just get enough of this stuff wet. And let's hit it with the pressure washer, see how it starts to come out. Alright, now I used, on this specific pressure washer, I used the less pressure tip. So again, I don't want to put too much pressure on the paint and start chipping pieces of color off and all that. So hopefully this is not too much. I'll stand back a little bit to avoid some pressure on certain parts of the paint. So, all right. All right. Well, not bad. Not bad. It looks better for sure. It obviously made a big difference just because it's wet, but a lot of the stuff got broken down now from the degreaser. That's a good thing. So the next step is we're gonna apply some soap. So I'm gonna mix a little bit of our chemical guys soap, spray it on here with a little bit of degreaser as well, and we're gonna actually have to scrub this down a little bit, which is okay. That's the whole point of making this clean. Gotta put a little elbow grease into it. All right, so I mixed up a container for our foam blaster here. A lot of you guys probably have one of these at home, chemical guys or whatever other brand that's out there. So I mixed up a container of that. We're gonna spray that in the engine compartment, and we're gonna tackle whatever's red. We're gonna scrub it as much as we can with our trusty sponge and maybe even a brush if we need to. So it's getting pretty windy out here. We're gonna try to beat this wind and beat this daylight. We're going ahead and tackle it, see how it comes out. Hopefully good, because my OCD is gonna tell me to paint the bay, and I'm really not trying to do that. All right. Let that sit for a couple minutes. Grab our trusty sponge. All right. All right, well, that definitely took a little bit longer than expected. Looking at this in person, looking at it through the camera, I feel like the camera makes this engine compartment look really, really good. I'll be quite honest with you guys, it's pretty dull in color. There's definitely some areas where the paint was damaged, like I said, from the battery leaking at one point. It's really dull in color underneath the brake booster. So anyways, again, I'll repeat this 1,000 times just to let you guys know the end goal. This is not a show car. This is going to be a daily driver. I will get back to driving this every single day. That's why we're putting AC in it. That's why we're not doing crazy paint in the engine compartment. That's why we're not tucking the brake lines, none of that stuff. So in all reality, I have to be okay with this, because once we start painting or doing body work to the engine compartment, you might as well shave it, right? That's kind of how all these builds have amplified to what they are now. So like I said before earlier in the video, we're not going to care too much about the subframe, the suspension underneath, about cleaning it, because we're going to actually take all that off. The next video is going to be pretty much the suspension dismantled. The brake booster is going to come off, and we're going to get all that stuff painted. Now, we're not painters. We leave painting up to the professionals, 100%, we'll be honest with you. Again, that's for our show car stuff. This is our daily driver. So with that said, we're going to be painting some parts here at the house, here at the Players Club garage. We're going to media blast a lot of the suspension stuff to make it look extremely clean, then hit it with some color. So it's going to be somewhat of a first for us. We've painted a couple times, but nothing to the point where we applied a paint and the part that we painted to the vehicle. So that'll be fun. That'll be something that we'll learn, something you guys can learn, and we'll both learn along the way. And we're definitely excited for that, because that opens up a new little world for us. And that'll be good. I'm definitely excited for that. So like I said, the next video, all this stuff is going to be off for the most part. Stuff that needs to be painted. We're going to let the vehicle dry out here for a little bit, and then get it back in the garage and start dismantling everything, and go from there. We're going to keep going. We're almost there. We're that close to getting that motor put in the car. So thank you guys again for following us. Thank you again for following this build. Gosh, it really looks good in video. It doesn't look that good in person, guys. I'll be honest with you again. But again, thank you everybody. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your support and your love. We'll see you in a little bit on the next video. Peace.